Thank you, sister. Thank you so much for inviting me to be part of your Third Friday lunch meeting. And a little hello from Sister Mary Ann, who I came a few years ago, I think, to speak with you all. She's like, oh, tell all my friends hi. She told me how much fun she had with you all and assured me that I would also have fun, and that was absolutely true. So I was sharing with Chris during lunch a little image that I have had the summer before I entered the convent. So 2002, my family, we took a vacation to the Grand Canyon, and part of that vacation included going to visit the Hoover Dam. And at the time, I had some friends who weren't quite understanding my decision to enter the convent and seeing like, oh, you could do so much more for the world. Why are you going and, hiding yourself away in a convent? And I even had friends who were joining a cloister, which often even has a greater misunderstanding surrounding it, you're abandoning the world and et cetera. So my family was taking the tour of the Hoover Dam, and they were showing us all these big turbines and everything that the water was turning to generate all this electricity, and they were saying, I don't know what the radius of electricity that it sent out to the country, but it said, somewhere in the country, there's somebody who's going to turn on the light switch, and they don't even know where the electricity is coming from that they're receiving. But it's hidden down here, and all this work that's going on sort of hidden away in this dam. And I thought, well, that's actually what we're called to do as religious. And we seek a life hidden with Christ in God, but it's for the world. And so we're kind of like prayer turbines hidden away in the convent, and we're called to generate a kind of spiritual electricity, energy for the world. And so when somebody is in need and they're sort of sending up a prayer to heaven, we hope that our prayers and our sacrifices can be an instrumental cause, a part of that drawing down grace from heaven when people are in need. Then I had a second thought, thinking about the wonderful work that the Sarens do on behalf of vocations. And there could be someone discerning or already in a vocation who might be struggling and send up a prayer and need some just extra help from heaven, extra grace. And they don't know that the spiritual turbines of the Sarens have been busy praying and working to send up grace for them to sustain them in their discernment and their vocation. So there's a wonderfully mutually enriching relationship between the Sarens that support vocations and then the vocations that support the life of the church. So on behalf of all religious and priests and those who are the beneficiaries of your prayers, thank you. But I'm here to tell you a little bit about my journey to get from point A to point B. So as Chris mentioned, grew up on a farm in Kansas, and I met somebody from a small town in Kansas, which was so exciting. But I did. I grew up as one of 10 kids and kind of took my faith for granted because I didn't even know that there were Protestants until I was in high school, because it just seemed like everybody I knew was Catholic, and it was a small. I grew up in a parish that had 170 families. So it's and we were mostly related, so just don't date anybody. So that may have been part of my vocation to a sermon too. No, just kidding. But I was sharing also that the Sarens came on my radar pretty early on. That very small parish had a family that had even more than 10 kids, but they were dairy farmers. They were about a mile away from us, and their son, one of their sons, felt called to the priesthood and was in the seminary, and then felt called to start a program called Totus Tuus. I don't know if anybody's familiar with it, but that started by a young man who was a seminarian for Kansas. He was from our parish, and his brother, Fred Georges, was inspired by that, and he became involved in Sarah International and became on their board of trustees for the Sarah International. And so the Sarah Club was very involved in our little parish. So we've had quite a large number of vocations that have come out of our parish. And so I think your work has been a part of my vocation from very early on. So I thank you for that. But also that my experience with Totus Tuus had a big part of my vocation. And I like to keep myself on track. English majors, we like words and we can start to talk a lot. So I like to give myself some mile markers that will sort of help me track my vocation story. And so the 4 points of my vocation story, I'm going to talk about a kidnapping, Taco Bell, paragliding, and a pregnant lady. Okay, so see if we can stay on course. So when I started teaching Totus Tuus, I was actually in high school, and this wonderful seminarian from our parish who had started the program was very zealous for vocations, and he told pretty much everybody who had a pulse and who wasn't already had a ring on their finger that they probably had a vocation. And so when he told me this, that, oh, I think you have a vocation to be a sister, and I was like, I think I've heard you tell that to just about every female that we've encountered, so I didn't take him seriously. And sometimes the team would do some fun things on the weekends, and so he said, oh, the team's going to do something, so pack your bags. And I was like, okay. And so he picked me up, and I was like, well, where's the rest of the team? And he said, oh, they're already there. Oh, okay. And so we pull in Wichita, Kansas, there are 2 different Catholic high schools, and one of them is Bishop Carroll High School, and it's run by or staffed by the Immaculate Heart of Mary sisters. They're teachers, they're wonderful. And they had a convent on the back side of the property. And I was like, oh, are we picking somebody up here? Like, what are we doing here at Bishop Carroll? And he said, no, we're not picking anybody up. We're dropping someone off. And I was like, what are you talking about? And then, right then we pull around to the back of the campus, and there are these wonderful sisters standing outside of the convent. And he said, I told the sisters you were so excited to spend the weekend with them. And you know that line from Scripture that said Saul was breathing murderous threats? I kind of felt like Saul at that moment. But these poor sisters had no idea that I had no desire to be there that weekend, or at least not a desire that I understood at the time. So I pretended that I wanted to be there, and lo and behold, by the end of the weekend, I did want to be there. It was a very helpful experience to maybe take away some of the myths or stereotypes that I had of sisters as just old and boring and mean, or I don't know, like things that are untrue, but in a teenager's mind somehow take on a life of their own. They were of all ages. They were a lot of fun. We played soccer and Pictionary and other things. And I thought all they did was pray, but they did pray for sure, but they also did a lot of other things. And so just helped me to see them as people, real people who had fallen in love with Jesus and said yes to his call. And so that kind of opened me up to the possibility. And as I continued through high school, I went back voluntarily of my own volition to visit them multiple times. And by the time I was a senior, I really felt drawn to this way of life. It was very beautiful. I had many beautiful experiences in prayer while I was there. And by the time my senior year came around, I had done a retreat with them and just started talking to the vocation director and the Mother Superior about possibly entering after high school. And it looked like I could, move in that direction, and had one of those great retreat highs, that you have. And my older sister was in college, and she came after that retreat, and it was kind of, I think, over spring break, and she was home, and she was like, oh, let's have a girls' day at the mall or whatever. And so I was like, oh yeah, that'd be a lot of fun. So she picked me up from the convent we went to the mall. So clash of worlds. But we went around, did a lot of other things, saw, went shopping and did some fun things. And then we ended at our absolutely favorite restaurant in the whole wide world, which is Taco Bell. And so we were sitting in Taco Bell, and she's like, oh, tell me about the retreat. And I started telling her about the retreat. And then all of a sudden, and this is me, 17 years old, it hit me, if I enter the convent, I can't go to Taco Bell whenever I want. And I was like, I don't think I'm ready for this. And so I just was like, yeah, it was a great retreat, and I might be called to be a nun, but I'm not sure I want to anymore. And so I just had I let fear take over. I started thinking about I couldn't go to Taco Bell, or I'm like, what are the other things I wouldn't be able to do if I entered the convent? And anyway, I just really got hung up on the fear and the unknowns and the doubts of whether or not I could be happy. And so I had heard pretty clearly the call and was very convinced that was my vocation. And if you know God's will, you're really supposed to do it. And so I was like, oh, okay. So I kind of started playing this bargaining game with God. I was like, I I know I have a vocation, and yet I'm really not sure if that's going to make me happy. So let's make a deal. I want to go see the world. If I have to be in a convent for the rest of my life, I at least want to have some fun first. So this is somewhat subconsciously articulated, but I wanted to go off to college, being from a very small town in Kansas. I was like, I need to see the world. And so I started out, before I came to the University of Dallas, I started out in another university in Wichita, Kansas called Newman University. And they have a study abroad program in England. So I went and studied abroad in England. And then I transferred to the University of Dallas. And as you know, they have a study abroad program in Rome. And so I was fulfilling my pre-convent bucket list of all the things I wanted to do. And when I was a student on the campus in Rome, a lot of my friends had, before me, in the semesters before me, done paragliding in Switzerland. This little Interlaken, Switzerland is gorgeous with the Swiss Alps and just amazingly beautiful. And so you pay money to have somebody strap you to them and run off the side of a cliff and hope that you don't crash. And it was very exhilarating, and I'd been looking forward to it for the whole semester, and it was amazing. It was gorgeous. It's the Alps, and it was a beautiful day, and it was just amazing. And there were like birds flying right next to us, and the landscape and everything about it was just incredible. But I had looked forward to that event most of the semester, and after we finished the flight, I can't remember how long we were able to kind of hang out with the birds in the air, but when we landed on this actually beautiful field, tulips and just gorgeous, but I have a very almost visceral memory of landing like my feet on the ground, and it was like my stomach fell. Like I just had this incredible empty feeling of now what? That was kind of what I had been looking forward to, and it was over, and there was nothing, no staying power to that experience. It was just kind of over, and it left me with this incredible emptiness of that's it, and then it was kind of I need to find the next thing to fill that hole. And so that was kind of the story of those many years between high school when I really felt called, and college when I was telling God I needed to do all my things. And they were good in themselves, but they weren't what my heart was made for, so they kept leaving me restless. After I graduated from the University of Dallas, I was privileged to spend a year in Rome, working on their Rome campus, and two other classmates of mine who had graduated with me got married, and were also Rome, they call them Rome coordinators now, but Rome assistants. So they were a newlywed couple, and we're over in Rome, and saw all the different opportunities and everything. And after a few months, Allie stopped taking wine at the meals, and every once in a while we'd be going out to do some fun adventure, and Allie wouldn't be feeling well in the morning, so she couldn't join us. And so she figured out pretty quickly that she was pregnant, even though they hadn't announced it yet. And she just had that incredible mother glow about her. And I just watched her say, no thank you, to all these different things that either they were events or certain types of food or the wine. And she just had that secret joy that comes from living your vocation to the full, and makes sacrificing other things for the sake of your vocation a joyful, life-giving thing. And I just looked at her and I thought, she doesn't care about giving up all these things because she's so excited about being a mom. And she's so focused on the gift of her vocation that the rest of the things are not only, she doesn't really care about them, but she's kind of having fun saying no to them. And it was a great reflection to me on what I had been looking back, from Taco Bell to paragliding to whatever, all the things I would have to give up to follow God's will. And I wasn't looking forward to what the actual gift of my vocation was. And when I sort of was able to do that, she helped me do a 180 and look back at what does it mean to be called to be a religious sister, is to be a bride of Christ. And if you love someone, you love everyone they love. Well, God loves everybody. So you get to like enter into his heart for the whole world and to be a spiritual mother, like really for the whole world. And I was like, that just hit me. It was kind of that same thing that hit me when I was in high school and on those retreats. I was like, this is so beautiful. I can't believe I sort of turned my back on it in a way. And I was like, oh, will God still take me? Like, I've been running this whole time. Is he still gonna like, did I blow it? Did I, but he's so patient. He's like the quintessential gentleman, and he was right there ready to take me when I finally came to my senses and was like, this is such a beautiful vocation, and it's that he gave it to me. I just felt so humbled and honored and grateful that he stayed with me when I was trying to run away from him. And so after the end of that year, I left Rome and came to Nashville, and it's been 23 years, and just so grateful to the Lord for just continuing to bless me through this vocation and to hopefully be a source of blessing for others. It's just such a gift to be able to sort of work with him in bringing blessing to the world. And I'll end my story time, but I'll open it up for questions if everybody has any questions. So thank you for letting me share.
We need to pass the microphone.
I think we need a microphone. So Sister, can you just tell us about from entering the convent, what is the process to where you take your final vows, and what's that look like?
Great question. So I'll back it up just a little bit to the discernment process too. So our community has 2 different types of retreats, some kind of like the entry level, just kind of a come and see for people who might just be beginning the process. And then we have also vocational discernment. So usually a young woman, if they're interested, will contact the vocation director, talk on the phone, come and visit. And I had done that a couple of times and felt very much like this, my heart was kind of made to be here with our community. And then we have a 1-year postulancy. And if you make it to Nashville or see sisters on videos or whatever, that year they just wear like a black outfit that is, and they keep their name, and it's postulant means to ask. So they spend that year asking, is this for me? At the end of that year, if they feel called to make the step to kind of enter into the novitiate formation, they receive the habit and a new name. And then they have actually 2 years of novice. 1 year is the canonical cloistered novice year that the church requires for, that's part of that formation. And then we also have an apostolic novice year where they get to go out and kind of experience teaching or giving talks or just what they would be doing the rest of their life as far as like sharing the gospel. And then at the end of those 2 more years, so that's 3 years since entering, they would take what's called first profession of vows, and those are usually 3 years and then renewed again for 2 years. And these are all the guidelines that the church either mandates or encourages for that discernment. And at the end of those 5 years of what are called temporary vows, the sister would make perpetual profession. So it's 8 years from entering to perpetual profession.
Sister?
Oh yes, Molly.
So how did you make the decision to contact the Nashville Dominicans, or were there others on your radar screen and you kind of moved to them?
Well, I was trying to avoid them very hard because every time somebody knew that I was discerning, they were like, "Oh, have you checked out the Nashville Dominicans?" And I was like, so I was like, "They're the last people I'm going to check out." But they kept popping up in my life, and I just I finally got the clue that. In fact, when I had been a student on the Rome semester, they had a women's retreat. The University of Dallas had a women's retreat, and it was put on by the CMSWR, the sisters from, it's a group of different religious communities, American communities that are serving in Rome. And so there are probably like 5 or 6 different communities there. And it said, a little sheet of paper, if you would like to talk to a sister, it didn't say which community, it just said a sister about religious life, just sign up. And so I signed up, and behind door number 3 was Sister Mary Angelica. Was a sister who's teaching at the University of Dallas at the moment, and she was serving in Rome at the time. And she was we just clicked. And we actually spent the first 20 minutes of our 30-minute time together, have we met before? Like, I'm pretty sure no, because I've been avoiding every Nashville Dominican I see. But we both felt like we already knew each other, so there wasn't necessarily like some deep thing that she said that was like helped me know that I was supposed to be a Nashville Dominican. But there was, I think, a grace that the Lord allowed me to feel comfortable in that, like I was already part of the community, maybe in a way, or meant for that community. So the Lord speaks to different people in different ways, but that was probably my first major encounter one-on-one with one of the Dominican Sisters of St. Cecilia. So the Lord had to intervene because I was kind of stubborn. Yes?
And forgive me, I don't know exactly what all you guys are doing, but I know that you teach at Mary Immaculate, correct?
Yes.
So do you, and then there's a building being built on UD for a house for you all.
Yes, so maybe I'll just do a little bit of overview of our service in the Diocese of Dallas. So I believe it was in 2016 that our sisters began serving at the University of Dallas. We still currently have we have a sister teaching in the theology department and one in the philosophy department, and then I'm studying in the literature program. And then 3 years later, we had 3 more sisters came and are teaching and serving at Mary Immaculate and Farmers Branch. So that's been happening. So from 2016, so almost 10 years serving here in the diocese, and I think it's just beautiful efforts on behalf of from the University of Dallas to enable us to have a home, a place on the campus. I think that the university is very aware of how much the Cistercians and the Dominican friars and the Holy Trinity Seminary are really able to help young men who are discerning vocations because they have all this right in front of them. And I think the president, and well before he was president, saw the value of also having a presence of religious sisters on campus. So they've been committed to making that happen. They're actually kind of pivoting a little bit because of maybe trying to actually find a new location that might very kindly work even better for the contemplative dimension of our life. So we're so grateful for their consideration of us and our needs, and because it is our prayer life that actually sustains our vocation and our work in the church and for the diocese. So we are hoping that actually the sort of the new direction for the convent will be maybe more solidified by this summer. But if anybody's interested, I could connect you with Ashton if you want to know more, because he'll be able to share. He's the VP for development, but they are very kindly giving us a space that will also enable us, if the Lord calls and makes it possible for us to maybe even serve more in the diocese. Currently, we're in a home that has 4 bedrooms for the 6 sisters that are there, and then the new convent would have 10 plus maybe a couple more guest cells, so that we could, I use the word cells, Matt. Matt's like, why do you used to call them cells? Ask me if you want to know. But that would just be a wonderful place to help us live our life more fully and to be able to serve the diocese more fully. So we're super grateful.
Is your house right now in Irving?
It's in North Irving, Valley Ranch area. So, but yeah.
Why do you call it a cell?
Great question. I was saying that actually the original meaning of this, like the monastic customs had the rooms in the monasteries or abbeys or convents were meant to be a place where the monk or the sister could go and encounter God in a special way, even outside of obviously the liturgy in the chapel. So it's supposed to be a little piece of heaven, which the word was cheli. So the cell is like a little piece of heaven. And those institutions existed far before some of these other modern institutions that have adopted that word with another connotation. So we love it. It's a wonderful space to encounter God.
Are y'all participating in the VAP weekend?
I am leaving Dallas in about 5 days, and so I have not fully put it into my brain whether or not the sisters are going there. I know they're doing a couple of vocation events. We only have 2 sisters who remain over the summer because after we finish. So I apologize, I don't remember if that's one of the events that they're doing, but I know they are going to be active. So I hope so. Yes.
What's a typical day look like?
So I try to go by the Mother House schedule because that's the most sort of standard. We rise at 5 a.m. during the week, and then have about a half an hour. After a half hour, we meet together in our chapel this is the Mother House, and it's basically the same on what we call our mission convents, but we adjust it depending on the school schedule or the parish mass schedule. But for the Mother House, 5 a.m. rise, 5:30 to 6, we have a half hour of silent meditation in the chapel, and then we have morning prayer or lauds together, and followed by mass, and then we go together to we call it our refectory, where we have our meals in silence, and usually a spiritual reading book is read to us while we're eating. So it's a monastic custom that St. Dominic wanted to incorporate into his apostolic community, knowing that we would need to be nourished by the word in order to share the word. So even at our meals, we're constantly sort of nourished by spiritual reading. And then after breakfast, we rush off to the different schools where we teach. And same thing in Dallas, we have 2 different schools where we teach, so we go different directions. But then we're at school during the day, and then usually by 4:30 we are back home, and we have another optional half hour of adoration at 4:30, 5 o'clock Vespers or evening prayer and rosary, and then we have another communal meal where we get to listen to a book on tape again, or reading at table again. And then we have like an hour of what we call recreation, community recreation, so like family time. We like to play cards. We're card playing, and those of us here, or other things. A lot of sisters are very crafty, and they'll do knitting or other things, or we'll go for walks when it's not 100 degrees. So those are some of the activities that we do together as a community. And then we go back into the chapel at about 7:30 and have private spiritual reading. So each sister has her own book that she's reading, and we kind of dedicate that time to, again, continually nourishing ourselves. And then we end with Compline, the last night prayers, and a hymn to Our Lady, the Salve Regina. And we are, especially at our Mother House, we have a very beautiful candlelit procession that every night we kind of take the little mini pilgrimage to the feet of Our Lady, and place all of our cares at her feet and ask her to take the good from the day and multiply it in the bad, and surrender it to the Lord's mercy, and then give us the grace to rise again the next morning and do His will. So that's how we end the day. Oh, yes.
You leave Dallas in 5 days and by any chance going to Nashville?
I am. Mm-hmm.
Oh,
Are you going to be in Nashville?
yes.
Are you going to the Courage Under Fire Gala?
I am not, but our prayers are open to the public. If you would like to join us for any of those prayers, that are just 5 o'clock Vespers is the most.
There's 11 of us going.
Oh, wonderful. Okay, I will look for you. Maybe after this, we can swap and connect. Okay, great.
Sorry, I know we have to go, but how many sisters are in Nashville?
When we're all there together, we are 320. But for the most of the year, we serve in 30-some schools in the United States, plus 5 other places abroad. So like Vancouver, Scotland, Ireland, the Netherlands, Rome, and Australia, Sydney and Melbourne. So sent out to the 4 corners of the world. And then we usually make it back for Christmas and part of the summer for St. Dominic's Day, typically. We only get to be squished in a couple times. The rest of the time, it's fine. But yeah, we're very, very blessed. The Lord has blessed us with vocations. So please pray for us to continue to welcome vocations and be faithful to the grace of the vocations He sent us. So I don't know how we're doing on time. Okay.
Awesome.
Thank you.